Welcome back to the show. I have my good friend and an expert on breath, the art and science of breathing, here with me today, Adrian Williamson. Adrian facilitates breakthroughs. He's worked in sustainable development, education, and the arts, and he's integrated and expanded his own experiences into what he calls the introspective method. And he coaches burnt out professionals and entrepreneurs who are seeking focus, meaningful relationships, and peak performance. Adrian teaches breathwork techniques that have been scientifically and empirically proven to increase sustained attention and episodic memory while lowering stress, anxiety, and blood pressure. He unifies these benefits with a whole bunch of individualized coaching methodologies, Eastern science, to create breakthroughs for personal and professional transformations. Welcome to the show, Adrian.
Great. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So, the topic of our conversation today, and this is really a masterclass. This is not going to be just a conversation. We're going to really teach people how to think about something that's so fundamental and core to their being, their breath, in a different way, and how to actually leverage it practically in their life, starting right now, for more energy, more clarity, more performance. And if you're listening to this, right, you may have some familiarity with breath work. It's become more popular these days. Wim Hof and a bunch of other people have popularized this. This is a very ancient science. I mean, this has been around in the East for thousands of years. There's all sorts of breathing practices like pranayama, and which has a whole 50, 60 different styles of breath work. But the breath is one of the most overlooked aspects of our life, because we came in to this world with a breath. We're going to leave this world with our last breath, and our life happens in between. And because the breath was there before our conscious mind developed, it's just been in the background of experience the entire time. And so it's very easy to overlook this thing that's happening in the background, while we work, while we sleep, while we eat, while we shit, while we fuck. The entire totality of the human experience is happening in the foreground of this background process, which is, I mean, we know it's critical for us to live, but I think, it'd be helpful to start with just how critical this is for for us to live the kind of life that we want. So why don't we start there, Adrian? Why is the breath such a big blind spot? And, what are some very immediate benefits that we can derive from learning how to harness this process that's happening autonomously in our body?
Breath is at the foundation of how our cells create energy. On every dimension in our body, breath is the prime mover. And we can all think of this in your life. Like if everyone right now just takes a deep breath, feel like 1% more energized, right? A little bit more, right? And breath, in addition to giving us being at the foundation of our energy creation, is also immediate. We can have a cup of coffee, it'll work in 15 minutes. You can have a workout, maybe 30 minutes after your workout, you'll feel a little increased energy or clarity. Breath gives us all of this energy, all of this clarity immediately. And at the foundation of it's at the foundation of our experience. We often think that, you know, people who are trying to transform their way of being or their way of life, they think about exercise, they think about diet, they think about a new method of using their work. These are all really great ways to increase our energy or transform. But in the background, at the foundation of all of this is breathing. And it's as you said, it's really easy to take for granted. So yeah, I'm really
Yeah,
excited to be able to dive in and show people how powerful this can be.
yeah. So, there's some very, very core benefits to learning how to use your breath. So I'll say this right off the bat. If you don't have a breath work practice that you do daily, then you're missing out. You're missing out on one of the most powerful technologies you have access to, biological technologies, to increase memory, attention, focus, to lower anxiety, stress, and overwhelm, to break through from depressive states, really to take full ownership and have sovereignty over your body, because whether you like it or not, your breath is driving your life. The quality of your breath determines the quality of your life. And if the quality of your life isn't where you would like it to be, then a great, very easy place to start. There's no barrier to entry. It doesn't cost any money. You don't have to, buy some supplements. You don't have to buy coffee. You don't need to be a consumer that we've been indoctrinated to um, behave like. You can just do this by yourself, and it's so easy. So if you get nothing else from this conversation, get this, that just having a little more influence over the quality of your breath is going to be life changing for you. So let's dive right into breath, because our breath and our nervous system, which is another huge driver for the quality of our life, are very, very, very intimately connected. So when we breathe in, we take in oxygen. This goes into the mitochondria in our cells, which is the energy storehouse. And the breath is really how we're creating energy in the body, right? That the blood, the oxygen gets bound to hemoglobin, which circulates through the body, and that's how all the cells, the 40 trillion cells that we have, um, are energized, and that's how we're able to execute all our biological functions. So most people, they're not breathing properly. They don't know how to breathe, and if you're one of them, don't feel bad, because this is just not something we're taught. We're not taught how to breathe. And it's so foundational. Most people breathe, in a way that makes the breath very shallow. When the breath is shallow, we are primarily in a sympathetic nervous system state. That's, we're increasing arousal in the system. We're tending towards fight or flight. And pretty much all of the stress and anxiety lives in that state. So if you're not breathing correctly, you're probably in a low level stress response most of your life. So let's start there. What is the incorrect way to breathe? And what is the correct way to breathe? Because, if you implement just this, and Adrian, I want you to be super practical here and just break down, with the chest and with the belly. And I want you to really demonstrate like how this works and how this looks like, so that people who are listening and watching can feel this right now, can try this right now, and can implement this and develop the awareness for their breath.
Right. So the most important thing to remember is that we have different breaths for different types of feelings that we want to move into, different types of energy we want to cultivate. So, for example, if you're feeling really anxious, it's good to move the breath into the belly. Right? The more that our breath is happening in our diaphragm, this is giving us long-term sustainable energy.
For
You can
someone who
think,
doesn't know
Mhm,
what a diaphragm is, I want you to really break
mhm.
this down, to the most basic level, because, I think we overlook how, foundational and fundamental this is. So what is the diaphragm? Like, what does it mean to move breath into the belly? Like, how most people are breathing in their chest. What does that look like? And this is, guys, this is not just for peak performance or for more energy. If you spend most of your day chest breathing shallow, you're missing out on life. You're literally missing out on life. So Adrian, break this down hard, please.
All right, let's break it down. All right, first things first, most basic principle that everyone can apply right now. If you want to have more energy right now, breathe in for a little bit longer than you breathe out. That'll increase your energy. If you want to feel more sense of calm or relax, breathe out for a little bit longer than you breathe in. This is kind of foundational. Makes sense. You breathe in more, brings in more energy into your system. You breathe out more, calms us down, relaxes us, reduces anxiety. So that's kind of the first, we can think of that as the first pillar. Next pillar to think of, we need to start with realizing how massive our lungs are. Right? Our lungs, most of your chest area. Most people think of breath as this little thing that goes kind of forward and back a little bit in the chest. When we breathe, we can breathe, our lungs expand into our shoulder blades, our lungs expand into our lower back, and our diaphragm, which is located you think of it underneath your lungs or in your belly, can also expand forward and back. So we remember that it's important to remember breath is a whole body kinetic experience. And then a couple principles about where we focus our attention on moving the breath is going to change the character of energy that it creates. So think of it if you're a runner, right? A sprinter breathes through their chest because they need energy now. Chest breathing, energy now. But the thing about chest breathing is that it's not sustainable over a long period of time. A cross-country runner, a long-distance runner isn't going to breathe into their chest. They're going to breathe into their diaphragm, or they're going to breathe into their lower body, lower back. And everyone can take a second to do this right now. Right? If everyone just breathes into their chest, burst of energy. Breathe into your diaphragm, kind of more steady state energy. So those are some of the first things to keep in mind. So to review, first pillar, longer in, then out, more energy, longer out, then in, more relax. Next pillar, chest versus diaphragm. More into the chest, immediate energy now, short-term burst of energy, not sustainable though. Breathing into the diaphragm, long-term steady state energy. Next pillar, we have breathing in through the mouth versus breathing in through the nose. So this we can overlay with the chest and diaphragm pretty easily. If you're breathing into your chest, you probably want to be breathing into your mouth. Breathing in through our mouth is energy now. It's immediate energy. So sprinting, if you think of our primitive ancestors, this is hunting a tiger breath. You need energy immediately, but it's going to burn out quickly. And so our normal breath that we should be doing throughout 95% of the day is breathing through your nose into your diaphragm. This is steady state breath. It's calming, it's relaxing while kind of increasing our energy subtly, right? But if you have you're sprinting, you have a particularly difficult task ahead of you, doing a short-term burst of chest breathing can really give us that power to break through.
So I want you to just give a quick guided demonstration of how people should be breathing most of the time, because the work that I do with my clients, the breath is something we really work on, because the quality of our breath is really determining the quality of our attention, our focus, our performance, how clear we feel, how energized we feel, how grounded we feel. And when we're shallow chest breathing, which we're conditioned to because there's notifications going off on the phones, meetings left and right. If you're an entrepreneur or a high achiever of some kind or a leader, there's a lot on your mind. You're shouldering very, very heavy responsibility. There's a lot you're thinking about at any given moment, and chances are your awareness is not on your breath. And so when you're in your head, when you're just caught up in your thinking, chances are you're automatically chest breathing, you're automatically breathing shallow. So, just watch your breath for the next 5 seconds. Don't change it. Just notice where it's at. Notice if it's in your chest and it's short and shallow, or if it's in your belly and if it's long and diaphragmatic. And Adrian, I want you to take a few seconds and just walk people through the cueing for how they should be breathing most of the time.
All right, great. So how we should be breathing for most of the time is breathing in through our nose. And I like to imagine the breath is going in through the nose, kind of hitting imagine the breath going as deep into your head as possible, entering in through the back of the throat, and then going straight down and ballooning out your belly. So if everyone wants, they can put their hands on their belly, or put your right hand on your belly and your left hand on your lower back. And then as you breathe in through your nose, you should be able to feel your belly moving forward, and that also your lower back expanding a little bit.
And your chest not moving that much, correct?
Chest is barely moving here. Because we evolved for chest breath to be hunting a tiger breath, right? This is something that we've evolved to do in highly stressful situations. Often if people feel stressed, that breath goes up to their chest. And they take these baby chest, everyone takes these baby chest breaths, which are appropriate for maybe 5 seconds. And then you get super diminishing returns off of your breath. And it puts you more into that kind of fight or flight anxiety state. So if ever you notice yourself, the attention in your chest is moving in these little chest breaths, it's a cue to remember, okay, bring the breath deeper into the body. Can I move my diaphragm more? Can I expand my lower back more? Is my mouth closed? Am I breathing into the back of my throat? And the breath can also be a little audible. We're often conditioned to breathe really quietly. This is kind of nonsense. The breath isn't as loud as we think. You can let it make some sound. I have a teacher who says the person with the steadiest breath in the conversation or in the room is leading the room.
So let's talk about that for a second, because the breath has a huge effect on the voice, right? And if someone wants to really own a room, someone wants to be persuasive, have influence, lead people, what is that link between the breath and the voice and, the confidence that people are looking for, and how do they create that using the breath?
Oh yeah, so this is something that all singers know, that breath is at the foundation of our voice. And the simplest thing that everyone can think of to be able to apply immediately is when we're talking, you want to imagine the voice coming from as low in your body as possible. This means you're generating the voice from the diaphragm. And the best way to cultivate a voice which allows us to lead the conversation, which allows us to be in control of the situation we're in, is, first thing is what we went over, which is breath principles about longer inhale, exhale, are we breathing into our chest, are we breathing into our diaphragm, is this nose, is this throat? First kind of grouping of pillars is principles. The next thing that we do long term is practice, which means I do breath every morning, 20, 25 minutes. All my clients I work with, this is the first thing we do, is developing a morning breath practice. If you practice breath in the morning, then throughout the whole day, your breath is going to be deeper, your breath is going to be more steady, and your breath is going to be more in your diaphragm. It's really the highest impact thing that we can do in our mornings, more than a cup of coffee, more than doing 10 push-ups. Often people think that running is the only way for them to get energy, or that if they feel off, they're like, oh, I need to go for a run. Often all you need to do is breathe, and our body wants to make us run because that's the only time it ever gets enough oxygen. We can just do that in 10 minutes, sitting in your desk chair. Just take a deep breath.
Great. So how does one construct a morning breath practice? Like, can you break that down? Like, what does that look like? What are the options? What are the different kinds of breath? And, can you give us like a couple of versions, like maybe a 10-minute version and a longer 20-minute version that people can implement?
Yeah. So what I always start with people, with all my clients, is first to recognize that developing new habits can be difficult. It's important to create structures where we can be successful. I start with this. Take 5 deep breaths tomorrow morning. Wake up, roll your feet over the edge of your bed, take 5 really deep, big breaths with as much of your body as possible. You can breathe in through your mouth, like take some big chest breaths. Start with that, right? There's no excuse not to do it. Just 5 deep breaths, 5 seconds. Now, if you can do that, developing a breath practice, the biggest thing to think of what you want to is what you want to get out of your day. If you're looking to have a breakthrough day, try breathing mouth into chest. If you're looking to have a calm, steady state, grounded day, this is a nose into diaphragm sort of day. So let's start with the type of breath which has been popularized by Wim Hof, which is chest breathing, really great for creating breakthrough energy. So for this, place yourself in the center of your circumference. Imagine your rib cage lifting off of the hips, back of the skull lifting up and out of the spine. You want to have your jaw relaxed here. And as we breathe in, imagining the air coming in to the corners of our mouth, over the bottom molars, into the back of the throat, expanding the chest and heart area. Big breaths at a pretty good pace. So it'll look something like this, or sound something like this. What we do is we do about 30 of those. Then you take a big inhale, then a long exhale, and you stay empty at the bottom of the exhale for as long as you can, usually about 30 seconds. And then we can actually, through these heavy breaths and these deep breathing, we can stay empty. You can start with probably around 30 seconds. You can quickly work up to around 2 to 3 minutes. It's really, you can, with steady practice, within 2 weeks, you can be holding your breath for 3 minutes. I guarantee it. And what we're doing by doing this heavy chest breathing, hyperoxygenating our body, and then in the breath holds, depriving our body of oxygen, is we're training our body to be more efficient with how it uses the breath. And then that training lasts all day. That training lasts all day. So you do your breath in your morning, you do this regularly. Every breath you take, every breath you take in what will be your entire rest of your life is going to be higher impact, which is really what we're all after.
Beautiful. And what does this look like for the opposite effect? So say someone's running at a high RPM, they're, rather than looking for more energy, they want more relaxation because they're already quite activated. What does a breath practice look like for them?
So breath practice on days when, you get up out of bed, really high RPMs, lots of kind of discursive or intrusive thoughts. This is going to be diaphragm, lower back breathing. This, rather than breathing through the mouth, we'll be breathing through the nose. We want to have the same principle of imagining the air coming into the back of the throat. So again, always before you breathe, place yourself center of circumference. Imagine that bright posture, bright chest. This is also posture training as it is breath training. Imagining the air coming in through our nose, coming into the back of the throat, and shooting right down, and having that balloon expanding in the belly. And this is steady breath. It will sound or look something like this. Nice, steady, even in and out breaths, or if you really need to bring the RPMs down, you can have slightly longer out breaths than in breaths. What this also does when we breathe into our belly, and our belly is tapping back on the exhale, is it stimulates our vagus nerve, which automatically will calm us down. So a breath practice like that, you sit, steady breaths into the diaphragm, in, out, maybe do about 30 of these, then take a big inhale. And rather than than emptying and holding your breath at the bottom of the breath, we're going to hold our breath at the top of the breath. You can think of it just like an inverse. Breathe into the belly, hold at the top. Breathe into your chest, hold at the bottom. This will create a sense of weightlessness and effortlessness, which can be really conducive to calming down the nervous system.
It's a beautiful state. And, speaking of beautiful states, guys, the breath is basically an instant gateway to a state of peace and presence. Because, most of the time, you're living in the world of form, you're living in the world of objects, and objects can be your thoughts. You're fixating on the form that appears, either the physical objects in your life, in your world, or your thoughts, your feelings, sensations, perceptions, beliefs, your judgments about yourself, about others, about the world, about your bank account, about your business. Most people spend their life lost in the world of form. And the thing about the world of form is that the world of form is always changing. It's not static, it's always changing. everything changes. Our bodies change, the trees change, the weather changes, the temperature changes. Um, you know, our our world, the oceans are changing, the sky, everything is in flux, because in reality, there's nothing in our life that's actually ever constant except the breath, right? The breath is actually the one anchor that is always constant in our life. As long as we're alive, we have our breath. Now, the world of form, one of the reasons why most people spend so much of their life in a state of discontent is because they're trying to stand on the forms of their life. They're trying to hold on to the forms of their life, whether it's holding on to money, whether it's holding on to a certain belief system, whether it's holding on to, your partner, whether it's holding on to a political party, or, a religion, or a perspective about the economy, social circles, holding on to the state of your yard right now. It doesn't really matter, but, you know, we are trying to work, we're so fixated on being attached to these things, but these things are inherently in flux. They're always changing. So this experience of being alive is inherently frustrating. It's inherently dissatisfying, and it's inherently unstable. So if you spend most of your life, focusing on the forms, the objects in your life, then you're in for some trouble, because you'll never feel quite stable. You'll never feel at peace. You'll never feel safe. You'll never feel grounded, because the things that you're trying to hold on to, you're trying to grasp, they're always slipping away. They're always elusive. And the one thing that is not is your breath. So all it takes is one deep conscious breath to come back into a state of presence, right? And if you learn to use your breath as an anchor for your life, you have something that you can tether to, that's constant, that's not changing. And when I say not changing, I mean your breath can, speed up, it can slow down, it can be deeper, it can be shallow, but it's always there, right? It's always there. It's always there in the background of your experience. And it's very obvious once you find it, once you develop the awareness for it. And it's basically instant mindfulness. So, Adrian, walk us through how someone can use their breath for this, instant meditative state.
So for me, when I was on my journey of coming to presence, I tried a bunch of different modalities: yoga, mantra meditation, mindfulness meditation, visualization exercises. And these were all really helpful for me, but it took a couple weeks, a couple months, or even sometimes a couple of years to really have a facility with that practice to be able to drop in to that sort of alignment. As soon as I discovered breath, I knew this is the way I can communicate this presence. And this is because it is immediate. It is immediate. And often in many languages, actually the word for breath is synonymous with the word for spirit. If anything, we know that we are not our thinking minds, right? You are not just the little thoughts about what am I going to cook for dinner? Oh, I should call Bobby or Sue. This is not you, right? We are much more our breath than we are our thinking mind. So how can we use breath to create immediate presence? So the first thing is the art of doing one thing at a time. What is meditation? Meditation, everyone's like, oh, it's kind of esoteric. It can seem like it's kind of far away or hard to understand. Breath is practicing doing one thing at a time. That's it, right? Mantra meditations, it's just practicing focusing on the mantra. Visualization meditations, practicing focusing on an image. Breath, if we just focus on the breath, we're training ourselves to do one thing at a time. Doing one thing at a time is presence. And what makes breath uniquely powerful as a way to train ourselves to do one thing at a time is that in addition to training our focus to always coming back to the breath, it energizes the body, and it's really good for the body. Lowers anxiety, lowers blood pressure, increases performance, increases memory, all of these fantastic things. So by training ourselves to come back to the breath, do one thing at a time, that is what presence actually is. You can think of this in your life. When have you been at your best? It's when you're only thinking about doing that one thing, that one task in front of you. This is what flow state is. You best eggs you ever scrambled, all you're thinking about is scrambling eggs. Best paper you ever wrote was all distractions were removed, just writing that paper. Even in our relationships, what is love besides totally focusing on another person, right? And breath is training to be able to move this into every dimension of our life. So let's get back to think of the two prime ways that we can do this practically right now. So first category is, what are the techniques or principles that we should just always be aware of? This is, you notice yourself a little bit off. Okay, I'm a little too anxious. Let me move my breath into the belly. That first conscious breath you take, immediate presence, immediate calm. Or I'm just super low energy and lazy right now. Let me take a couple big chest breaths. Move the attention into the chest. Focus on doing one thing at a time, breathing into your chest. Immediate energy and presence there. So this is something that we can kind of do every 5 minutes, every hour, do it after lunch as a little break. But if we really want to go deep, this is regular practice. There are a bunch of videos you can find online. You can go on my website, reach out to me, and I can support you. It's daily practice of breath gives us an immediate meditative state. 10, 20 minutes, you're going to be feeling that presence, going to be feeling that focus, going to be feeling, as you mentioned, formlessness, getting out of the body and into awareness, into pure consciousness. And if you really want to go deep, this is a part I'm really excited to dive in with you, is something which has been an emergent practice in the West now called holotropic breath. And this is, rather than just 20 minutes in the morning every day, holotropic breathing is breathing for about an hour or two straight. This is a way of creating real breakthrough presence by doing this heavy breath. I wouldn't suggest doing this alone, but you can probably find a class in your area where we're getting ourselves into an altered state of really pure presence. It has a lot of similarities with the psychedelic experience or other sort of really transformative states, but has the benefit of being totally integrated, really healthy, and it's free.
Beautiful. How does one, if one wants to, give that a try, right? Could you walk through sort of what that could look like for the people who are experimenters who don't have the patience to go find a class? Like, if someone wants to try this right now, what would that look like?
So if you really want to get into the altered state breath, then what you do is make yourself a little playlist. Start with this playlist with songs with a steady beat that you can breathe to. Then lie down, put a pillow underneath your knees. This will protect your lower back. Maybe put an eye mask on, put on your best pair of headphones, or lie down in front of a good speaker system if you have one in your house. Put on your playlist of songs with a steady beat, and then just start breathing to the beat. For this, because we're trying to achieve breakthrough, we're going to be doing mouth into chest breath. So you lie down on your back, pop on your headphones with the songs with a steady beat, feet slightly elevated, pillow underneath the knees, and then breathe to the beat, breathe to the beat. Big, steady breaths, imagining the breath being as kinetic, as full body, but focused on the chest as possible. And practice always returning to the breath. So what's going to happen is the mind is going to try to interfere, or the thinking mind, discursive mind is going to try to interfere. It's going to worry about your to-do list, or worry about what you're going to eat, or your relationship with your family or something. It's going to try to interfere. Whenever the thinking mind comes up, return to the breath. Return to the breath. My favorite metaphor in teaching this is Dory from the movie Finding Nemo, which I hope everyone's seen. It's the little fish that says, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. We're doing that, but for breathing. Just keep breathing, just keep breathing, just keep breathing. Trust the breath. We are more the breath than we are the thinking mind. Train yourself to come back to that. If you do this even for 30 minutes, you'll notice your fingers start to tingle a little bit, maybe a sense of weightlessness. These physical sensations that arise as we're doing the breath at first can be a little surprising, but we want to embrace these sensations that come up, because what the sensations are is actually increased awareness, which at first can be a little surprising. But as we become acclimated to this, we're training our system to be more aware, to be more in touch, to be more focused, to be, again, doing that one thing at a time. And that 30 minutes of this lying down, you'll notice undeniably that you have the thinking mind, the worrying mind will be pushed aside, and there'll be space for whoever you are and whatever you want to do to arise and enter flow. Flow is performance, energy, clarity, all these things that we're seeking.
Beautiful. Shall we do a demo?
Yeah, great. Let's jump in. So what we'll be doing, which I think was the most fun, is the breakthrough breath. So this is mouth into chest. So we'll be doing about 3 minutes of heavy breathing. Then we'll take a big inhale up, exhale everything out, hold empty. We'll just try 45 seconds because we have a lot of new people. But if you feel like you can hold longer, feel free to go a little longer. And what we'll do to start is something I call just expanding the container, which is just a way of breathing in and taking extra sips of air just to feel how big our lungs really are. Great. So if you're listening, wherever you're sitting, you're fine to do this in your office chair. Just place yourself in your center. Have your posture be as bright as possible. Imagine the rib cage lifting up and out of the hips, back of the skull lifting up and out of the spine, and a smile kind of emanating from your chest. Have your jaw relaxed. Maybe close your eyes. We're going to take a big breath in. And at the top, take another sip, another sip, another sip. And then release. And now we begin the heavy breath. We'll be breathing in through the corner of the lip, over the bottom molars, into the back of the throat, filling up the chest and heart area. And in, out, 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 in, out. Now continue on your own. Keep breathing on your own. Try to inhale with acceleration and exhale with vibration. Let your chest and your heart area expand with every inhale and release with every exhale. Whatever comes up, any stories that are arising, just return to the breath. How can I breathe bigger? How can I breathe with more acceleration? How can I breathe with more of my entire being? Back to the breath, back to the breath. If any physical sensations are arising, dizziness, lightheadedness, tingliness, just a sign you're doing it right. Embrace the sensations. Trust that they will become awareness. Just 10 more seconds. Really push for these last 10 seconds. And let's all take a big inhale up. And as you exhale, let something go. Staying empty at the bottom of the exhale and not breathing. Trust that your body has enough oxygen to make it these 45 seconds. Cherish the stillness you're feeling in your body. While you're empty, still remember to keep the posture bright. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and big inhale up. Staying full at the top. Sip, sip, sip. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Let the natural breath return to the body at its own pace, with its own life. Take a moment to set an intention for the day. Take the opportunity of a clear slate and a clear mind to put yourself at the forefront. Great. So that's one
Beautiful.
round.
Beautiful. Yeah, and if you enjoyed this, you can do 1 to 3 rounds every day. That's a cornerstone practice for both of us and our clients as well. And it's really profound the way I feel, and it's helped me create so much more clarity and focus and just operate at a much, much, much higher level. So thank you for this, Adrian. Um, do share where people can find you, how they can join you in creating some breathwork practices in their life. What are you up to in the world, and all of that good stuff.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, so you can find me on my website, introspectivemethod.com. And there I do weekly breath circles every Wednesday. So we all get on Zoom, a bunch of different people. I go over technique. We breathe together, share our experience. Really great way to build a practice with community. I also do corporate events where I can come in and support teams and help strengthen community, build teams, facilitate communication with shared experience. And you can also always work with me one-on-one if you really want to go deep.
Beautiful. I'll link all of these stuff in the show notes, guys. Check him out. Find him on the grams, on his website. He's got some good stuff, and it really makes a difference. Adrian, thank you for joining me here on the show, and I can't wait to have you back and talk more. Maybe we'll do an episode on breath and psychedelics and some of the crazy stories that we've experienced.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to next time. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining and breathing along.
Beautiful. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, do drop a comment. Let us know what was most impactful for you, and share this with a friend, share this with a loved one. Leave a review, just an honest review, what you think of the show. Really helps us get the word out and share this content, share this with more people, get some cool guests here for you guys to learn from, for all of us to make our bodies, our minds, this world a better place. So I'll catch you next time. In the meantime, remember that you are limitless.